In some ways, the coronavirus lockdown has been a bit of a struggle. The sometimes hour-long commute into Cambridge, 6 miles, I haven't had to do any of that. But I have enjoyed the walks in the countryside and seeing God's creation at first hand, and we've enjoyed lovely walks together. It's been great.
Yes, to start with, I found it quite a struggle, and realised that I was actually quite full of fear and anxious about what was going to happen. But I also was able to do something that I've been wanting to do for many years, and that's to sort through photographs, particularly many photographs that had been passed on to us from generations. And so that was a really lovely and quite emotional experience. And we managed to frame some of them. And this is one of my favourites. They're great-great-grandparents, Charles and Martha. And Martha, my granddaughter, was named after my mother's middle name, which was Martha. And she was named after this Martha. So this is my granddaughter Martha's great-great-great-great-grandmother. And it's rather special because after she'd been named Martha, we discovered that this Martha has the same birth date as my Martha. So that's so some really good things have come out of it as well. We asked 3 people from our church, Alison, David and Lynn, if they would share with us, firstly, something that they struggled with during lockdown, and then secondly, something that was a really positive about lockdown. So I'll hand over to them now.
So, struggles through lockdown. Yes, I did struggle. The main thing was the fact that I didn't see the family. Obviously, after looking after the grandchildren 3 days a week, suddenly to nothing. The children, we didn't see them either, and it was really, really hard. And I discovered that the main thing was that I didn't like the fact that I had been told that I couldn't go out, and not seeing anyone was a nightmare, and all these thoughts go through your head. And then I discovered that actually a way round one of it was, if I went to the shops for everyone, I could deliver and see the grandchildren staying a long way away. So that's what I did. And the first time I did it and arrived at John and Amos's house, I virtually burst into tears. And yeah, it was really hard, really hard. But on the positive side, I did a DNA test with Ancestry just before lockdown, and I started thinking, oh, will I get the results? Won't I? Is lockdown going to affect that as well? And it didn't. And in early June, I had the results come back, and I got a first cousin on my biological father's side, and I managed to contact her, and since then we've spoken numerous times every week, and she was able to tell me that I'd got 2 half siblings, 2 half sisters, who I haven't met yet because there's lots of complications. Zoe moved house and everything, but she told them last week of my existence, and they do want to meet me fairly soon. And yeah, there's all other families, like they've got family as well. So I'm really excited, and I realised that actually God was saying, right, slow down, just distance yourself from everyone and be prepared to see your family. And I can't wait till I do.
Hi everyone. What lessons have I learnt from lockdown? Well, I've been working through the lockdown, but instead of being in a large open plan office, I've been here in the spare room on my own, And I've learnt that I miss the general hubbub of a large open plan office, hearing people talking, being able to go and chat with people, talk about work problems, talk about what you're doing on the weekends, stuff like that. It's just really missing the general socialisation that you get in that kind of situation. Good things, well, with no one looking over my shoulder, I've been able to have Bible apps and things like that open at the same time and been able to listen to those while I've been working. And I've also really enjoyed the church Zoom coffee mornings, which have been a really great opportunity to just ground myself and have a chat with people and see how everybody's doing.
Hi. How's my lockdown been? Well, it's been a bit mixed, really. I have to talk about the negatives and the positives, and I think we'll start with the negatives because it's always good to end on a positive. And the negatives have been at the very beginning, mainly at the very beginning. I had this overwhelming sadness. I lost 3 dear friends, and that was really hard, with the drip feed of anxiety of COVID and the news constantly with the deaths and the fear. So I struggled with anxiety a bit, and slowly you come to terms with it. But I also struggled with the fact that I was called old and vulnerable, and that was a tough one to take. Old and vulnerable, old maybe, but vulnerable, I really struggled with that one. And then a bit of the isolation. I enjoyed people's company, and that was hard, being so isolated with far too much time for reflection and far too much time for soul searching, and some of the things I wasn't too keen about myself on. But then going on to the positives, and there have been some positives. There have been some lovely days when I've had a bit of peace and quiet. Not so much peace and quiet now with grandchildren around, but I've had peace and quiet and time for some really good prayer. And especially I've had time to finish my first knitting project ever completed, and that was a baby blanket for Katie, who's now, well, she'll be now 35 weeks pregnant, so only been able to see her twice, but it's great. We've got a new baby to look forward to. And I've especially loved our virtual coffee mornings, where we've had some very random and very funny conversations, and we've had some real deep and meaningfuls. But I really think we've got some good coffee morning buddies and some really good relationships there, and I have loved that. So yeah, some good times, some bad times. I'm sure it's going to continue to be mixed. With all of us, I would think. It's hard to say that it's going to be all good. It's hard to say it's going to be all bad. So yeah, that's my lockdown. Some good, some bad.